We're fixing everything, and because there is always something to fix today on this 3-liter diesel, on troubleshooting why there is no voltage, there is no charging from the alternator. I recently changed the brushes like 150 kilometers ago. So let's start the car and see if we have any fault codes coming up. I think we will have. Let's see now. Let's go and check. We don't have any fault codes, but let's go and check the voltage. You can see I'm measuring between this point and this point, and we only have 11.4 volts. We should have a message on the dashboard saying that we have a flat battery, but anyway. Now, let's measure onto the post of the alternator right there. So ground cable is connected, yeah. We'll just check that it's connected. It is, yes, okay. And I'll check right there onto the pole. And it's again 11.5. Now we can have bad ground. Now unfortunately I can't film this, but one of the reading will be with the one from on the alternator and the other one right there onto the front of the alternator, the positive one, yeah. Now that's 11.4 volts still. So let's see now what voltage we have onto this wire right there. Okay, now with the ignition on, and we can see that I'm hooked to the pin. We can see 7 volts. Sometimes it goes here because this connection is not the best. Yeah, 7 volts, 7.5. So there is power coming to this wire, and the wire is not the problem. And let's start the engine again. After we saw that, we just need to make sure that the alternator is turning, and you can see the inside it is turning. So now we can determine that although I changed the brushes, something is bad and it will need to be replaced. So this time I'll need to take out the whole alternator. This is the troubleshooting that you can do on your BMW. We know that the battery on the back is okay, so taking the alternator out. Okay, it's a little bit hard to see, but we can actually remove the back plate and the brush assembly by removing this screw, this thing, and the whole thing pulls out. There is a few other little bolts I'll show you in a second, but first thing I'll remove this nut and the connector. Okay, so I did remove the cables. I'll show you now up close. You can see, yeah, we don't have a bolt here, we don't have a bolt there. It's just a matter of pulling the plastic out. And sometimes it's a little bit tricky, but it's definitely not impossible. Okay, so I had to pry it off a little bit with the screwdriver. Right there, yeah, and it just popped out. Something fallen on. There we go, just like that. You can see here, yeah, it's where it's holding, and there is no here. There is no nuts or anything. Some of them there is, but not the original one. Yeah, right there. Good. Now we need to remove the regulator assembly, and it's holding itself by these bolts. Yeah, there are 3 of them or 4 of them. 1, 2, 3. You'll see how many exactly. Can't pull the cap out, unfortunately. These are the brushes that are going out. Two brushes right here out of the assembly. They look okay. I don't know. We'll check now. First thing we can check if and how does the contacts here look. To me they seem to be looking perfectly fine, but they still need to be measured. Now let's see what measurement we can get onto these rings right there. And be right here. .3 ohms. 2.3. Again, 2.3. So the rotor is actually perfectly fine. .3 is not a bad reading. Now, I don't think I can check the diodes without removing the alternator. I got the first 2 bolts undone. Yeah, and now I will do the last one as well. Be careful because it's a little bit tricky, which means that you can actually drop it onto the floor. It's not even onto the floor, it's onto the and you can see it's already getting loose. Good. Now there is like a little cap. I don't know if you can see it right there. I'll pull the cap out. I got this used up voltage regulator installed now, and we'll check the reading on the battery. Okay, so the voltage regulator is in. Voltage is 12.6. Let's start it up and see if it's charging. So the problem was the voltage regulator. And we can hear now also the alternator. I don't know if you can just compare the beginning of the video with now. You got a little squeak, that's because there is load on the alternator. Yeah, that was the problem. Voltage regulator, when there is nothing else left. It's only one thing left, voltage regulator.